You know those people who, in the middle of a total crisis, seem completely unfazed? While most of us are freaking out, they find this almost supernatural level of focus. Some people call it a deadly calm. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the psychology behind this incredible ability. So let's get right into it. So picture this, a sudden, totally unexpected crisis just drops into your lap. A car swerves right at you, an alarm starts blaring, some kind of emergency just erupts. What's your first reaction? For most of us, what happens next is, well, it's pretty predictable. It's a very human sequence of events. First up, the physical stuff. Your heart just starts hammering against your ribs, right? Adrenaline floods your system. Your body is basically screaming, danger, before your brain has even had a chance to figure out what's going on. And then the mental storm hits. 1,000 thoughts are firing off all at once. What's happening? What do I do? Where do I go? It's just this chaotic internal chatter that can feel completely and utterly overwhelming. And all of that, the pounding heart, the racing mind, it all builds to this one really powerful emotion, panic. It's that feeling of being completely out of control, where your instincts just take over, and any kind of rational thought just, poof, it's gone. That's the classic fight or flight response. But what if that's not what happens? What if, in that exact same moment of crisis, instead of all that chaos, you feel a profound sense of clarity, a chilling, absolute calm? And this is where our story really gets interesting. Okay, so it turns out this isn't some kind of magic. It's all about neurobiology. For some people, a crisis doesn't trigger panic. Instead, it triggers a kind of mental switch, and that fundamentally changes how their brain processes the entire event. This mental switch is basically a rapid pivot inside your brain. Imagine it telling the part of you that screams and panics to just take a seat. And instead, it hands the controls directly over to the calm, analytical problem solver that's also in there. This really shows the battle that's happening inside our heads. On one side, you have the panic brain. This is run by the amygdala, our primal emotional core. Its job is to spot threats and react instantly. That's what gives you that tunnel vision, where all you can see is the danger right in front of you. But when that switch flips, the calm brain takes over. We're talking about the prefrontal cortex now, the highly evolved CEO of the brain. It's what allows for logic, for planning, and for seeing the entire situation with clarity. So who are these people anyway? Well, you see this in first responders, elite athletes, special forces operators, AR surgeons, people who can just access this state almost on demand. But how do they do it? And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Are these people just born different, wired for calm? Or is this so-called deadly calm something that can actually be built and trained and sharpened over time? The answer seems to be, well, it's a bit of both, but it's heavily weighted toward being a learned skill. So what are the ingredients you need to forge this state of mind? Well, it all starts with relentless training. Practicing actions over and over until they're totally automatic. That frees up a ton of mental space. It also requires what you might call radical acceptance, not wasting a single second fighting reality, but immediately figuring out how to work with what you've got. Then there's this shift to an external focus. You're not thinking about how you feel, you're thinking about the problem that needs solving. And all of this is built on a foundation of repeated exposure to high-stakes situations, which literally recalibrates how the brain responds to stress. Okay, now we have to talk about that word deadly. Why deadly? It sounds pretty intense, right? Well, it's because this state of mind isn't just about feeling peaceful. It's about achieving a level of focus and efficiency that is almost inhumanly effective. This quote really says it all. This kind of calm isn't passive. It is an active, powerful weapon. It's the thing that allows for precise, calculated, and just devastatingly effective action when the stakes could not be any higher. Think of it like the ultimate spam filter for your brain. In that moment, fear is just useless data. Get rid of it. Self-doubt, that's just noise. Delete. Even empathy for other people might get temporarily shelved if it gets in the way of solving the critical problem. Think about a surgeon who has to focus only on the procedure, not the patient's family in the waiting room. The goal becomes absolutely everything. This efficient, almost ruthless focus is just fascinating. And while it might seem like it's reserved for elite operators, the core principles can absolutely be applied to the stressors that we all face in our daily lives, even if they're, life or death.
The big question then becomes, how do we build our own, maybe more basic version of this mental switch? For handling a tough presentation at work, or a difficult conversation, or even just a personal emergency.
The path really starts with two key practices. First, train for chaos. If you're nervous about public speaking, don't just write your speech, practice it in front of a few friends to simulate that pressure. This builds familiarity, it builds confidence. Second, practice detachment. When you feel a strong emotion starting to rise up, just pause, take a breath. Try to observe the situation like an outsider before you react. That tiny little gap you create is a choice, and that's where your logical brain can step in. So what we've seen is the incredible power of the human mind to find clarity in the middle of chaos. Panic might be our instinct, but calm is a skill. It's something that can be built. So the question I want to leave you with is, when your moment comes, which switch will you flip?